It's honestly, what do you want?
I think I'm okay, but if I get all like tongue tied, I'll say help.
This so.
Yeah, we are.
I know. Today I asked her. No, explain with us spending much of your day here in the world. They were very grateful. So I'm going to ask the first question. What is it that attracted you to our district? And what makes you think you're the right choice for this position?
What attracted me is probably threefold. My experience is vast, and I retired from my first career as an educator. And in my second life as an educator, if I could have a do-over and put together all of the pieces of public education that I thought were awesome and put it in the school, this is pretty close to what I would say. I had the luxury of being assistant superintendent over 3 expeditionary learning schools. There were 2 elementary schools that fed the middle school, and ended up becoming one of Sanchez was a demonstration site, and also had 99% of their students speak Spanish as their students. I also during that time in Hartford oversaw 2 of the Montessori public schools, and during that we were expanding and was able to open the second public Erdkinder program, which is the 7th and 8th grade middle school, where Marie Montessori believed that 7th, 8th, and 9th graders should be on the farm and learn through the land and their apprenticeships. And so 60 days they were on farm, and 120 days they were in a traditional public school setting. So when I look at Warwick and you lead with project place-based learning and expedition learning, and I think about the things that I would want to be able to create in a school district, it's very odd that you get to do that and do it while it's a nascent district. You're in your 3rd year, and so being part of something as it's growing and developing is an award.
Thank you so much. Well, why don't we do the introduction as you're asking a question? Sometimes we've had people do introductions first, and other times as they're asking their question. So why don't you ask your question?
And you think she's already got enough on you?
I think she's probably got it. But I'm Carol. We're proud. I'll make superintendent.
I'm Louise Dowd. I've lived in town for 1980 years. I keep not doing the math right, but for a while. And was not a part of this school starting up again. But then Carol hired me to infuse Fort Gillingham into the teachers' work. We're using University of Florida to teach us, etc. So I did that last year and consulting about that and other aspects of moving this year. But then since January, I've been working here part-time as an interventionist. So that's my involvement with the school. Been on the school committee for about a year. Have a short 20 the last 20 years really in reading and education working. I worked at a private school for 10 years. So and I love this place. Yeah. So my question is, we're interested in what you see as the special considerations for an entry plan to university. With the idea that Carol would be coming back. How would you begin your work? Whom would you seek out? And what information would you want?
So I'm going to give my analogy that I think is fitting for so many reasons. So with Carol being on sabbatical, I mean, you're looking for a 1-year interim superintendent. I see myself as the nanny, and understanding that the school has, and the board has a set of goals and a vision. And my job is to help support, move those goals along, so that when your mom comes back, the school is the way she had left it, and maybe a little bit better, if that's for me. But as far as the who would I talk to? I think the staff, the board members, and parents, followed by some of the kiddos, and they were very free with their opinions today. But really understanding where each board member sees where the district is now and where they want to see it and what they think are the big levers of change for next year, as well as understanding where the staff, where that overlap with the staff, where they see themselves, where they see the levers are, to ensure that as stewards of community resource, we're meeting the needs of the community as well as the students and the families here.
Thank you.
Easy.
Does Kate already know who
Yep.
you are?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. So my name is Adam Holloway. I am one of the original people who was here at the beginning, along with Jess and Diana. Way back when we were for the planning district, and they were trying to close our school, and so we created the advocacy crew that tried to keep open, and then ultimately went through, I don't know how many years, iterations to get it back open, and stayed on as a school committee member to see things through. I have two littler ones in the district, well, in the town. Professionally, I am a forensic expert in the field of fireworks and cause, as well as engineering. So that takes me all over the country doing that kind of stuff as well.
Nice to meet you.
And so my question to you is, what are your greatest strengths and weaknesses as a leader?
I think my greatest strength is developing developing adults, especially, and fixing and creating infrastructures and systems. And what I mean by that, I'll give a few examples. When I was in Hartford, one of our charges was the concept of a portfolio district is that families get to choose from a variety of models of school. But there also has to be some consistency around curriculum, around reading, instruction, and mathematics. And so how do you infuse that curriculum into an earth kinder, as well as a traditional STEM school? And so creating those systems around what is instructional excellence and what is academic, what is rigorous tier 1. We were able to articulate that, but also infuse the whole child. And so what I learned in Hartford, I took to Bristol, and we created an instructional framework that started with the vision of the graduate at the center, and 3 or 4 concentric circles supported the elements of the vision of the graduate, from climate and culture. What does it look like in a classroom? What does it look like in school? What does it look like in a community? But also, what is tier 1 rigorous instruction? What does engagement look like? What is, and from that, how do principals evaluate that? So when you ask my strength is being able to take parts of the school district and school and make it so that family, children, teachers, and the board all can see how the pieces interact with one another to create the vision of what you want, right? And what does the Warwick Community School District want? The 13 elements in your long range plan, the 5 goals that you shared with me. How do they feed into your long-term vision for what it means to be a child of a family that participates in the community school in Warwick? My weakness is sometimes moving fast and making sure that folks are in the right spot to receive the information or the learning or the change or shift that needs to happen. And I think retirement helped make that much slower. Not being up at 4:30 is awesome. And I have a toddler who he likes to sleep in, so 7:30 is we get up. That's great. I gained 3 hours of sleep.
All right, I'm Miranda, I teach at I think it's 1 room, 7th and 8th grade school on the farm. And it's like 1 class, of students, and I've been a teacher in a lot of different settings, and I've done some outdoor education and some farm education. And so the perspective I try to bring is that of teacher, and specifically with like a lot of the shared values and visions that this school has, which is really nice. And like, I think like you said, something else really exciting about joining this committee was like seeing the school come into being again after like this hard period, and just like the cool mission behind it. So it's really nice. My question is, based on your experience, how would you, as the interim superintendent, and there are 4 prongs, focus on student growth and achievement, work with the community, maintain and sustain the leadership team, and go about planning for the subsequent year's programming budget?
We can replay. You don't have to keep numbers in your office.
Achievement, community, budget, and leadership. I think, so the way I see those 4, I'm gonna start from the leadership team and budget and work backwards. So creating whatever that central office leadership team name is, ensuring that we understand the long-term projection. And I think Jess and I were talking about, like, when I think about where you are and knowing tuition for preschool and what tuition for choice districts students are, and the current footprint of your staffing, if everything moved forward for the next 3 years, 4 years, what would you need? Right, so I know you went from $800,000 to $900,000 roughly, and so projecting that out, right? So I'm going to start there, and think I have bad training in Connecticut. Our budget has to be due in October, so we start in October, and then I present, and it's done in December. So by September, you're already thinking about like next year. So I would enter there with the team, because once you have that game plan, you can breathe a lot easier. And I would couple student achievement and the community networking together. The best part about being a superintendent or teacher is child, right? And what allures me about Warwick is one of the tenets is that there's an individual education plan for every child. So knowing the 52 students by name, and also, you're stole from another superintendent, but and add in an S, knowing that child by name, strength, story, and need is really important. And with 52 students, you can definitely know every child by name, strength, story, and need. Story is the most important, and that leads into community. And so the story behind the child is usually the story about family and community. And when you can put those 2 pieces together, you create this more intimate relationship with both the families that make up your community, but 700 some odd citizens who I've met a couple just by being here, who are super proud of the school, and what the land and the school can mean to the community. And so I think one kind of leads itself into the other naturally. And I would get rid of the details real quick, the finance piece. Because once you know what your budget is, you breathe.
Alan?
It is your turn.
It is. Yeah.
Those are very thoughtful answers. So, what would you do?
You wanna tell her about yourself?
Yes. Well, one of the things is I was a firefighter trained in search and rescue for a number of years, so that was fun.
So you guys have a lot.
Doug, you may not know that. So. All of my career really was in education, so I was a teacher for 11 years, a principal, business administrator, superintendent. For 18, which was the interim did that for a little bit as well. So, I was on the select board 20 years ago, and again now. I was on the Pioneer School Committee where we had our 7 through 12 kids go, tuition, on the school committee. And so everything's a learning experience, and it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy it. That's it. So my question to you would be, how would you create a safe environment for the staff, so they would feel comfortable coming to you with their problems?
So I shared with you that a lot of my work was with expedition learning and through, and during that time, my district also adopted some of the restorative practice language. And there's set of work on teaming practices that I felt could marry very well. And so one of my practices that I bring into the spaces that I work with is creating crew and family and just purposeful time in the beginning of every meeting to get to know one another and break down some barriers. I think slowly over that purposeful circle, call it circle, folks will, first it's like challenged by choice, and then it's challenged by the way the questions are set up, that folks will then become more comfortable and confident that they can have a one-to-one conversation with me around whatever they need to share, whether that is something going on in the classroom, something we see about the school district and the school, or something that's going on in their personal lives. I think that you have to be very intentional about setting the conditions for folks, and also showing your own vulnerability in the process. To a point.
You don't wanna leave yourself wide open.
Well, this is the new version of me. There was a different version of me that was very much like different at one time. So, age has a way of mellowing you.
Well, it's interesting, your comment, and I'm sure it fits into this question of sometimes I like to move too fast, and to go forward. And you have to create a certain amount of dissonance in order to create change. If you make too much, things fall apart. It's just enough that they're uncomfortable and they want to keep learning. When you retire, then you start looking back, you realize that sure, where I went too fast, and how did I know they're ready? So it sounds like you've got a really great handle on that.
Yeah, that Monday morning quarterback really rings true at a certain age. I wish I had a couple of do-overs and mulligans. My first year teaching would be one.
Yeah.
My first year superintendency would be another. So I think being gentle with yourself and also like realizing that you're human, and then just knowing like, I really want to make things better for people. I blew that time. I could do it better. Just knowing that about yourself.
So self-reflection sounds like you do a lot of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I've done life in reverse, so full disclosure, I have a toddler. So, I think all of that coming together is just allows me to have a different version of myself right now.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you.
So describe the budget making process, you have used and what your experience includes with regard to budget management and budgetary controls.
Yeah, so, I've come from much larger districts, and so we, as I shared, September 30th, they get a memo that says by October 31st, you need to have your requests in. And so it was understanding where from, God bless you, from personnel to HR to building and grounds into schools. Compiling that and understanding where I know we need to be for the following year and what a realistic ask for the community. When I think about Warwick, I kind of want to do that in reverse. When I looked at the 26th budget, knowing what was either a revenue source or community share and seeing the increase and knowing your staff, I would build it from the staffing. Like what is the bare minimum I want to carry forward? What is that annual increase? What would that compute to? I know that you have started to take choice students and thinking about what revenue that would bring in, what the number that you need to kind of cover the balance of what you know your fixed costs are going to be for the following year. And then thinking about pre-K and knowing what the sweet spot is for that tuition, incoming tuition, so that when you're going to the town, when you're asking for the next year's budget, you can say with good confidence that we should expect a blank increase year over year, but it shouldn't be obnoxious in the ask, or know that you have a way of offsetting costs, right? So you can offset your costs through tuition, but when you're gonna have to pick your sweet spot on your number. And so even though I'm like babysitting for a year, I'd want to know, like, in 5 years, if you play this up in 5 years, how largely I want to be, why, and then how you balance your revenue and what you could bring in. And Jess and I were talking about some other opportunities that are long-term, but around the pavilion, bringing in revenue through different sources. But for this board and for next year, I would just build it right now from what your fixed costs are, and then trying to mitigate those costs through tuition reimbursement.
Do you have a follow-up?
No, I
It's like you
No.
a follow-up is brewing. It's okay.
Nope, I don't, but it's not my strength. While we were building the original budget, my running joke was that we got too big, I had to take my shoes off and count my toes, so Diana is. She heard that way too many times, I'm sure. But so Diana is the budget person that we relied on during. when we were
The
building
budget
school.
whiz.
She is.
Well, it's my turn to ask again. Would you speak about your experience working with principals and other building leaders who oversee teaching and learning? And can you speak about having any disagreements that might arise between you and a principal? What topics would be appropriate to discuss, and what topics would you leave alone, even if it disagrees with something a principal is doing?
I'm gonna start from the back. There's no topic that's off limits. I'm an executive coach in my, I guess, second career. And as a superintendent in Connecticut, the way we built the portfolio is we evaluate and supervise principals through a network of association. So my primary responsibility as a principal is to grow and develop their skills as an instructional leader. And through the coaching process, the shared agreements that we would have in the beginning of the relationship, we would establish what that person, in this case, Stephen, would want to grow, like where he thinks he has some strengths and where he wants to try new practices. And my feedback would be around his growth area. The other aspects of the day would just be what we have as a shared agreement around how the school functions, whether it's safety precautions or the curriculum that's being implemented. Those are just they're not off limit. That's consistent feedback when I'm in the classroom or when I'm out and about. So my primary responsibility would be growing him around what I think he would be leaning into as his growth area. But that growth area should really speak to the district goals. So you have 5 goals, one of them is MTSS, one of them is writing, one of them is building classrooms, and I know he lifts that work. So around those goals, his role in that goal, that would be where I would enter our conversation and coaching, and then where I would grow him. And then there would be that personal professional aspect that he's growing in addition to what he's doing for Warwick, like how is he fulfilling his own goals and growth as a leader.
Okay. So mixed into that, if there's a disagreement, if you have a disagreement, if you don't like something that's principal to doing, how would you?
Honesty and transparency. So I noticed that you made the decision to do blank. I was wondering why you made the decision to do blank, right? Unless it has something to do with safety and security, and then it's just a straight up direct conversation.
Yeah.
But I think you can get a lot out of someone with some purposeful questioning around how they came to arrive at the decision they made. Yeah.
Oh, so again, I'm Diana. As Adam's already mentioned, I was involved deeply with the school, and actually I started getting involved in what was going on in the town when I realized that our part in our previous Pioneer District setting was so tenuous. And Pioneer was talking about their own budget problems, and one of their solutions being was Warwick School. I feel pretty deeply that school in our community is very central to our community because of how big we are and because of who we are. So that was the doorway for me to becoming to being on the finance committee and on the formative school committee. I've since stepped down from the school committee, from the finance committee, and I'm assistant town coordinator, as you mentioned, or transition in that office. I am also recently retired, and a lot of what you're saying about being retired certainly rings true. I retired from UMass in the fall. I'm an operations person, so I work for a bus company that is operating at Museum. So that's who I am.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Rashad was great, right? That first cup of coffee at 7:03 was like so much better. Then the like 5 o'clock one that you're just like,
Although I have to admit, it's been many years since I've had the fortitude to get up before.
That's about the only thing that's different, because being retired, you're working all the time.
Not nearly as much, and missing the 45-minute commute is quite nice.
No commute.
Yes. So my question is, of course, around budget. If you could please imagine that you learned that there's less funding coming in for the federal lunch aid for fiscal year 27, so the following year, than anticipated. And to set the scene, our budget year is very different from the one that you have seen. The finance committee and Jill, who is still with us, is now the chair of the finance committee here in town. Really doesn't get going until, well, we've gotten going in December, January. We're learning class, that's a bit late. And the school budget is wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. Town meeting is the beginning of May. So perhaps I think of your experience as being rather early, but I'm also thinking perhaps our experience is later it should be. So let's say it's the middle of May, town meeting's already happened, and you've learned that federal funding for school lunches is not what we had anticipated it to be. What kind of problems would that create, and how would you look for a solution?
so I'm gonna draw on our past experience on the federal school lunch. So that budget was outside school budget and has to be a balanced budget during presentation. I'd have to know.
Connecticut. I'm trying to find.
Connecticut, yeah.
That's how they do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So who's into the town?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is presented in the schools, in the district budget,
Yeah.
but it's a separate budget altogether and has to be revenue neutral. Is that correct? So if I have 10 folks.
Yep.
It has to be, and all the food, every overhead all has to be, like, I made no money in it.
So where's the cash flow come from? Is that on the town side?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it go town and federal, and we were a fully funded district because of our poverty level.
Okay.
So I'd have to understand where we are
Mhm.
relative to that and how many, and what a ratio would be to see if we would meet the 70% threshold. I would look, knowing that we're rural, I would look to some of the farm to table grants on the state side, understand those and understand if they're long term. We'd probably get to some people in my delegation to see what else they could do me on the state side. Are you, right now, the cafeteria is fully town funded? Or part?
Actually, it's not, it is part of the school budget.
Okay,
And I think we've got a tiny bit of support of the school budget lines for it, but we do get enough support that it is largely stands on its own, but it is all folded within the school.
and is it free for kids?
It is entirely free. Free for every student in Massachusetts, right here.
So I think I'm gonna make sure I understand what our question is. So if
So you're
sure
Yeah,
in the budget side.
yeah.
Then you would be looking on how to mitigate that within the school budget.
Right.
Or
That sounds like how you guys are.
or outside the school.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've got some ideas of some of the
Yeah.
places you would look outside of having to reconfigure your school budget,
Yeah, so
which is
I
a
think
great place to start.
yeah, the first assumption would be, we should be able to. I should know how much each meal is reimbursed,
Mhm.
right? And from that meal reimbursement, I build my budget. Right, and try to keep food costs within that margin and staff it. If I can't, and I purposely know I can't, but I also know I have the farm to table or a couple other grants, then I build that in as both a revenue source, but then it allows me to play with what I'm budgeting, right? So
Right.
it depends on like which way I'm driving the cart right now.
Yeah.
I would probably, because I'm conservative, I would go with like just what I can afford right now with my meal reimbursement, and everything else is fluff afterwards, and know that annually, that's, I can enhance like the food choices after, but build within my budget first.
Great.
Thank you.
She said no takeaways.
Is there something we haven't learned?
Girls, kill by yourself, can I be said? Yo. You're not, they leave something out. It's hard to kind of encapsulate 35 years of public education.
Yes.
Moment.
I give us a highlighter too.
I've had a luxury, I've really had a luxury of just phenomenal mentors, who allowed me to do different things. And I got to be like a couple glass ceiling moments. I coached boys when I came out of college and not girls in the public school system. I was the first there, and then I did it in an urban area. That was a first. So I've had like weird athletic background things that are great. I got to start a basketball program at Alberta Magnus College, now they're Division III, but boy, did we stink when I first got out of school. So my back is diverse. And then I've had neat opportunities within Hartford Public Schools, Bristol Public Schools, and East Hartford Public Schools. Each kind of has created this version of the cake that you see. And I think the thing that I didn't share with you is when we were in Bristol, we redesigned our district. We called it Reimagining Bristol Public Schools 2023. It's hard to believe that year came. I mean, unintended during the pandemic. We had closed a school. We opened up a pre-K academy, however, for all of the community instead of just mandated services. So we were able to do that. During that year, in 1919, Bristol created one of the first 10 public high schools. And it closed, and we reopened it as an intra-district arts magnet that allowed career pathways. It was a middle school, middle schoolers went there every day. The high schoolers went every other day, and we were able to create 5 career pathways there that allowed us to have more pathways in our traditional high school. If those pathways mirrored what economy in the greater Hartford area needs, so that when we're coming out, we could guarantee families, and it was one of our parts of our strategic plan, that a child was either enrolled in college credit bearing courses, were in an externship for a career, or had a career certification. And so we could guarantee every family in Bristol that one of those 3 things could happen for their child. And so I've had a fun experience being able to create and build in each of these like really established districts, but to innovate while I was there.
Well, is there anything that you would like to ask of us? Would like to know?
What do you need during this like weird year of Manny?
You want me to make a snap and can add on? Think we need someone who sees this place and loves it like passionately. Who sees its strengths. But has some concrete with experience to look with like a fresh set of eyes and like find places where we could be more efficient and be more effective. Like sticking with the vision, but finding some places that we could be doing the the things that we're aiming to do even better, even smarter. I think we need someone who's like a creative thinker, because we talk about our mascot being workarounds. Jess and I are constantly solving crazy problems because it's so tiny here, budget's so tiny. So you have to be able to think innovatively, and when there's a challenge, not be like, ugh, but instead be like, how are we? I mean, the 2 of us are just like solving things, and I see it. I mean, it's fun. Honestly, it's fun. It's important. We have this amazing gift, being able to create something so beautiful and enriching for the students and families of this community. And so I think someone who sees it, is excited to see it, and then make it even better, stronger, and isn't afraid when there's some challenge, the lunch bunny being less than you were expecting, to be creative and find an innovative solution, because that's what this whole project is. It's an innovative solution, just always says we're good. Best example of project-based learning.
We're talking about in our
What do you think is an answer to that question, Jess?
I agree with all of what you're saying. I think that really that really encapsulates what we need to do over this time and what we're looking to do over this time. And that we're thinking about the kids.
Yeah.
Just that we're really this, the remains of this tangible in this building, that this is what we're doing here, is being here for kids, helping them be their best selves, caring about them and caring about each other, and giving them some really great expectations for growing and being their best selves and learning, and being able to not know that that's what they're doing a little bit of the time.
What is I would like to just
sort of build on that, and I think that we have some vulnerabilities, in terms of operationally and in terms of the budget, because we're so tiny. But I also feel like that we've got a tool and an opportunity, particularly with our great leaders currently, to use that tininess, and look for the ways to respond nimbly and thoughtfully, and in a way that's geared to our specific needs. To look for ways to be creative about the budget and to look ahead a few years, because ahead for enrollment, what our enrollment's gonna be like in a few years. I don't necessarily know the names of all the kids that on those numbers, but these two certainly did. Stephen certainly does. And we're able to really dig down to that nitty gritty level. And I think that gives us the strength and an advantage too. Tough times budget wise. Definitely. Well, I actually have a question too, because you have been focused in Connecticut, and I know that you wouldn't be sitting here if there wasn't a solution for the fact that you're certified in Connecticut. So I just want to confirm that there's,
reciprocity.
yeah. There's
But usually
a straightforward reciprocity.
There's straightforward.
That's it. That's it.
It's-
There have supports, I'm sure, to every state and how they treat with
So
education.
usually the reciprocity is, while you're a sitting superintendent. So you would have to, check that out. I know when I wanted to get certified in other areas and I called around, I found out that if you're a sitting superintendent and you apply, you get it. If you're not a sitting superintendent and you apply, there are some hoops you have to go through.
Yeah.
So, however, we still have shortages and stuff. So
Yeah.
there's another avenue that you could get provisionally certified as a superintendent.
I filled.
I don't think that's a big issue.
I started some of the like verification, so my last employer had to verify that I was superintendent.
Mm.
I have active licenses,
Mm.
my teaching license, my an administrative license is different in Connecticut, and then an 093
Mhm.
superintendent license, so all of those elements are, and I do know Mass and Connecticut are reciprocal. My original certification, I went to Assumption, so back in the day, I had Mass or
That's great. And you certainly seem like somebody who has no problem with hoops. That's just.
Yeah.
exactly. Good. Next, but don't come. Very good.
Hooks and hurt.
And I really appreciate that none of you brought up UConn. Like that, and the two losses, I appreciate that.
It's just like that you think any of us would.
I still love him.
You know,
I knew he was what.
I like spade versus Haley.
so, sports is not
You'll
something.
bring this, you'll bring those.
Yeah. Yes.
Cause I right with you for the girls, really, and then. The boys should have won. I mean, they were even up by 8 and it was painful.
They played Michigan.
They played Michigan, I got the number 1 and number 2, Michigan was 1 and Connecticut was 2.
And Michigan couldn't happen.
Yeah.
Wow. But listen, I'm pretty quick, even though I don't have a lot of sleep because of my toddler. No.
When you said you coached, what were you coaching? You said girls and boys, but what was it, basketball?
Basketball. Yeah.
I would have been surprised if you said you wrapped it too.
Given the person.
She Michigan. And little. I coached women's softball my first year out of college too, and I would never do that again either. We really were bad.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't, I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. Along the way, I asked a lot of questions to different folks around like the budget, questions I had, so I had some time together.
There's gonna be a new.
Yes.
And how does that go?
The way I built, so after I retired, I opened up a LLC, and so I built my work on 2 days specifically. So those 2 days are long days, and right now I think the commute, based on what I'm doing now, would work.
Yeah.
the way that I have my life set up.
I saw that, I went, boy, I hope she likes driving.
It's about an hour and 20 minutes, but really it's a straight shot in 90
Yeah,
minutes.
it is.
And then there's like 15 minutes of backwards.
It's really not that, people, when you land on this area, is people think that like driving from like.
Hartford.
Here
Is-
is a long distance,
Right.
but for like people that drive around all the time, like I can make it I would used to commute to Windsor all the time, so an hour and 15, hour and 20 was like nothing, it was every day.
Yeah, it's a straight shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny though, because I was like, oh, that's such a long way.
Yeah.
It's
There's
not
gonna be
good.
people that come, like meetings, people who a lot of different towns. I don't know, come to my house, oh, Warwick's too far. Well, you go to Belchertown, if you can go to Belchertown, you can come to Warwick.
They all need a subscription of Audible.
Yeah, got it.
For a good podcast.
Seeing more. So you're past that.
Yeah, yes. It's a good way to be.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Kate, thank you so much.
You absolutely just.
Okay, thank you. You know what?